the Environmental Science Award supported by the Hamilton Science Awards Trust.
I chanced into the kōkako scene really by, my first job was with New Zealand Forest Service in the days when there was one, and it was with the Forest Research Institute at Rotorua, and they had a section that worked mainly with native forests. And of course in those days there was a separate wildlife service, but the wildlife service and the forest service didn't always see eye to eye about the birds versus the habitat, the forest that they actually lived in. And a kōkako was of course involved with Central North Island logging controversies, and so the Forest Service had some interest in following what was happening to the bird and what limited its numbers, and was it logging or was it something else. The kōkako journey's been quite a long one, and it started out, as these things have to, by just looking at what was the state of the kōkako population and documenting the decline, and once you realise the decline, what was the cause of that decline. It turned out that, to cut my career forward 20 years really, that pest mammals limit native forest birds all around New Zealand. Kind of full stop, right? It's not forest area. These birds have declined in our largest, most legally protected national parks. It's not diseases. There's no particular evidence for these sudden disappearances due to disease. Places like the Waikato, to some extent it's forest clearance, but at a national scale it's not, it's pests. So people who go to Fiordland are disappointed at how few birds there are. There's no protection for any bird in any native forest in New Zealand from a rat or a possum or a stoat that can climb trees and hunt it at night. And so in a way the mechanism that we discovered for kōkako, other people discovered for other taxa, not just birds, but no, it's relevant through the whole country. And certainly I think we were probably some of the first to really focus on ship rats. And when I started at the Forest Service, people would have just laughed to think that you would control rats, on the mainland. It was just beyond pale. And now it's done methodically. Introduced mammal pests have turned out to be primary limiting factors of birds everywhere. And so we're dealing with a bird fauna and probably a lizard and invertebrate and everything else fauna that was perfectly adapted to its isolated island home, and so they were hunted by lots of things. It wasn't predation free, they were hunted by birds at night, but they cannot adapt. They have an Achilles heel about these introduced mammalian predators. We're an isolated island with an evolved endemic fauna that's ill adapted to this mammal onslaught. On the technical sides, there is a lot of research going into how best to control, in the end, what's a small suite of species that are really doing most of the damage. So primarily ship rats, possums and stoats. Ship rats and possums are both omnivores, tree climbing, so they're damaging vegetation, they're eating flowers, which is in a way, kind of baby trees, if you want to see it like that. They turn to fruits and the fruits should be dispersed. And the fact they climb trees, all three of those, means that there's nowhere that birds can escape from them. And we're learning more and more, and the pest control techniques are getting better and better. And the native birds they'll be pests soon. Tui waking people up in the morning, and Kaka scragging these specimen trees, and Kiruru not letting a single plum get through. Just wait, there's going to be trouble.